Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be taking a look at triangulation, which is a very useful endgame concept. If you've never heard of triangulation, then this video right here will be very useful when it comes to elevating your pawn endgame abilities. So we're going to start by just looking at this position here to get the basics of what triangulation is, and then we're going to take it up a notch, look at a bit more complicated positions where we can apply this basic idea. So I think the best way to learn what triangulation is through an example. So let's look at this position here. It is white to move. Now, black just got opposition. They moved their king to f7 and therefore stopped us from making forward progress. Our only move here is king e5 to keep in contact with the pawn. And here, black is going to make an annoying move. They're going to go king f8, not e8, which would allow us to infiltrate because king e6, we gain opposition. And this is, of course, a winning pawn endgame. One final trap. Don't promote to a queen, which would be stalemate. You can under promote to a rook or move your king and then mate. But nonetheless, this is a very easy conversion after king e8. So they're going to go king f8. And in this position here, the thing to understand is that we can't come king e6. They're going to grab opposition and they're going to stalemate us. Now, similarly, we can't come king f5, they're going to come king f7, and again we repeat that position. So after king to e5, king to f8, how can we make any progress? Well, this is where the concept of triangulation comes into play. We recognize that this position, we wish that it was black to play here. If they were to play, they come here, we grab opposition and win. They come here, we grab opposition and win. So how can we make it black's turn? We force them to have the move here. Well, we're going to leverage the fact that we have extra squares at our disposal. Meanwhile, black is very limited in their squares. This is the nature of what happens when you're the one that has a passed pawn that is pushing up the board. So we're going to move the king to f4. Now they can't come f7, we go f5, we grab opposition. They can come though and play king e8. And here, we're not going to go back, that would just repeat. We're not going to come here, that would also just repeat. We're going to go king e4. You might be wondering, what's the idea? Aren't we just kind of moving around, making no progress? Well, no, because now we come back king e5. And if you've noticed, black has really shuffled between these two squares. We've just shuffled between these three squares. So naturally, because of that inequality, the tempo has changed and it's shifted, and it's now the same position, but black to move, the one that we were hoping for, because again, they come here, we grab opposition, and of course are going to win. And similarly, they come here, we grab opposition and win. So that's the basic idea. We use the extra squares at our disposal to move in a triangle shape, hence the name triangulation. Meanwhile, they're going to only have fewer squares, most of the time 2 squares, that they're going to shuffle around. And using this process, we're going to change the tempo so it's in our advantage. Let's now take this up a notch and look at this example here where the position is a little bit more complicated, but the basic idea remains the same. Here, if we come king d6, they come king d8, they get opposition, it's a draw. If we come king to c5, king c7, it's basically opposition. We can't make any progress. So we want to again shuffle our king, and using the extra spaces at our disposal, that becomes possible. Because here, we don't go king to c5, but instead we can play the move king to c4. And the idea is simple. They come here, we grab opposition. So they're going to shuffle around with king d8, but now we don't return back yet. We also don't return here. We come king to d4. They, again, are not allowed to come to c7. They have to come to c8. And now we've shuffled around these 3 squares. They've shuffled around 2 squares. Same idea, in fact, very similar position as well, because now they're forced to make a concession in one way or the other. We're going to gain opposition, and for example, something like this, and we're going to win. So now let's go ahead and truly take this up to the next level, because this is a unique position where the basic idea of triangulation will guarantee our success. So here, it is important to note that it is white to move. we want it to be black to move. We want the same position, but they're going to have to move, which would give us the ability to infiltrate. It's also useful to note that this file is restricted for black. They can never come to these 3 squares, because at that point, we're going to push c6, they take, and then we go b7, and their king would be too far away to stop our pawn from promoting. So this file is restricted. They really only have these squares to shuffle around. And so, again, because of the luxury, the privilege that we have more squares, more space, more real estate, we get to use opposition. So we have the king on d5. Now, if we come to c4, they're going to come to c6, and we can't make any progress. We come instead to d4. Now, if they come to c6, very good, we're going to come to c4, and we're going to force them out. And again, we're going to win this position very easily indeed. Here, we could just box them out. If they instead came here, same thing. I mean, the most clinical approach here, although many moves win, is to go king to e6, where we're either going to kind of wrap around and box them in, or we're going to again force them onto that file where the pawn promotes independently. So it's safe to say that they can't come to c6, but they can't really go anywhere else, because if they try to just move backwards onto the back rank, and in this position, let's say they come king to d8, well, now we're not going to come directly back and repeat. We're going to go to e5 first. We're going to use these 3 squares. Now, they can't come to c8. We're going to infiltrate. They similarly can't really come to d7, although it's their best option, because now we come to d5, and we've utilized the same process of these 3 squares right here. Meanwhile, they've shuffled these 2. We've switched the tempo, and therefore we're going to win. And once again, very simple conversion from here. After something like this, again, this is the best option for white, and we're winning. After, for example, something like this. And here you want to be careful not to stalemate, but one option is c6 to give black extra moves, and then we're actually just going to mate them on b6. That, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up the concept of triangulation. It's very simple in theory. In practice, you want to be very careful how you apply it, but the basic idea, as a quick overview, we utilize the extra space that we have, where we shuffle on 3 squares, they shuffle on 2 squares, and by doing so, we're switching the tempo so we get the same original position, but it's the opponent's move instead, and therefore, every move they make is a bad concession, and we can infiltrate regardless of the move they choose. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here, like this video if you learned something new from it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.